Here's the latest from BYD Cars Philippines, the Seagull. Let's check it out. The BYD Seagull is now the Chinese automaker's smallest and most affordable model in the Philippines. This only variant of this small hatchback comes at an introductory price of 898,000 Philippine pesos. Let's see what it has to offer. And let's start with the exterior of the Seagull. So as you can see here, it looks quite familiar. So maybe it's something like a certain Italian brand. So I don't just comment what you think. So anyway, it looks very aggressive, which I think matches the small exterior of this car. So it's kind of like small but terrible. So anyway, we do have this aggressive LED light design with those DRLs over there, and we also have a halogen turn signal over there. Then you can see there in the center we have the BYD logo front and center, very big, and down here a very aggressive front bumper. No fog lights, but this bumper does look really good and is also very angular in its design. You can also see that we even have a single wiper on the front windshield, which I find very unique. Moving over to the side, it really shows how small it is, around the length of a Toyota Wigo. We do have 150mm of ground clearance, 16-inch two-tone alloy wheels, and we also have a black plastic portion below the doors to mix things up. The door handles are the old school kind, but give the car a cleaner look here. You'll also notice the diamond pattern on the C-pillar and rear door, which follows through to the rear on the taillights. These also form a continuous light bar for a unique look. Opening the tailgate reveals 230 liters of space, which is typical in the segment. We can actually fit here a large piece of luggage. The seats also fold down in one piece. And now we're inside the BYD Seagull, and as you can see here, it's a very cute interior. So the color scheme here for this one that we have here is black and light blue. It's exclusive to this green exterior color, which it really matches the vibe. So we also have that green accent on the air vents and also some light green stitching on the steering wheel, and well, not here in the seats, but more of that light blue over there. So it looks really good. It's very similar to the design of what we have in the Sea Lion 6 crossover. So yeah, it's very BYD family. Actually, I think I prefer this over what we see in the Dolphin and the Atto 3. So materials over here are hard touch plastic on the dashboard and some soft touch as well for the light blue portion. So at least despite this being a smaller car or a budget vehicle for BYD, it's still very good quality. It feels very solid also. So yeah, that's all good over there. Same with the door panels, hard touch plastics on top and a little bit of soft where it is light blue. So yeah, same with the dashboard. Anyway, the steering wheel is what we also see in the Atto 3. Looks really good. It's very round, it's very curvy, and we do have controls on the left for our cruise control and on the right for our audio system. And then the horn of this car is actually funny. So it's a very small car, but we do have a very loud sounding horn. It's a big horn for a very small car. So anyway, other features that we will find here in the Seagull includes this little display over here. I believe this is like, I don't know, maybe 3 inches or 2 inches display with a digital speedometer, digital power meter, or it shows our kilowatts of how much power we're using. And it also shows our range and our charge level, which is now at 98%, by the way. So various information, which is the usual that you would find in pretty much any vehicle, like the average consumption of power, our TPMS, we have that here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Trip computer, that stuff. So just the usual over there. And then here in the center, we have a 10.1-inch touchscreen infotainment system. So it's not the biggest anymore, but this is a small car after all, and this is typical BYD. So it's also similar to what we saw in the Sea Lion 6 and other BYDs, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't exactly tried out other BYDs, but yeah, it's a 10.1-inch screen, very responsive and pretty much standard BYD. Of course, it's rotating like every other BYD as well. So when it's in portrait mode, it looks like an iPad or a Galaxy tablet or whatever, any tablet. It looks like a tablet. So I'd still prefer it in its normal horizontal or landscape position. But yeah, some people probably like that. Controls are also located over here. Is it automatic? It's not an automatic climate control system, but yeah, so we control everything here. If it's dual zone, oh no, single zone, just single zone, but yeah, everything is controlled there in the center screen. Then moving down, we do have some controls over here. So we have our electronic gear selector. It's actually located here, so it's very easy to use actually. So to put it in park, just press the P button on the side, and then we also have reverse by pushing it forward, and then to put it in drive, pull it all the way down. Neutral is a slight hold to the top or a slight hold down. So yeah, that's what we have over there. Drive mode selector is also there. We have sport, eco, and normal modes, and then we also have our, I believe these are like some grip modes, so I don't know what that is. So yeah, anyway, we have our auto hold button, hazard buttons over there as well, which kind of sound funky. You'll hear it more when later when we get on the road. And some additional aircon control, so the AC button and our on and off switch for the air conditioning. Our volume here is also here, so we do have a scrolly wheel for our volume. So at least we do have that sort of a touch sensitive one. Moving further down, we have a 12-volt power outlet down there, a USB-C and a USB-A port, as well as a micro SD card slot. Then we have lots of storage as well below this center console, which by the way houses our wireless phone charger. So my phone is currently charging over there. It works. And then we also have two cup holders and this armrest over here, which doesn't have storage underneath, so it compensates with the huge storage down there. And for our seats, we have our typical BYD seats as well. So it's a single piece seat, also typical for other small cars in this size category, like the Toyota Wigo, Honda Brio. They all have these kinds of solo seats without an adjustable headrest, and they do feel nice. It's of course leather wrapped, since this is a BYD, so it is leather wrapped with some perforations. This is probably faux leather, but it does feel pretty nice, and support is pretty decent. Not much, but again, it's a small car. That's what we expect in this size. And yeah, it also, again, like I mentioned earlier, the same color as the rest of the interiors. By the way, I failed to mention that other exterior colors of this car are matched with the black and dark blue interior color. And we also have a 4-speaker audio system, which so far actually sounds pretty good for a basic system. And now we're in the back seat of the BYD Seagull, and what surprised me here is how much space we actually have for a very small car. And this is actually a bit smaller, I believe, than the Toyota Wigo. I have to double check that, but yeah, we do have lots of space back here thanks to it being an EV as well. So seats are of course leather, like in front. No longer the same pattern, but I guess that's fine. But we do have the BYD logo on the adjustable headrest. No center armrest, that's expected from a small car. And we do have a lot of storage located there in the center. So again, compensates for the lack of a center storage in front. The materials as well are the same as in front. So hard touch plastic here on top and soft touch and leather for the armrest. And we also have this, I didn't notice it in front, and we have this like light blue plastic, shiny plastic. It's better than piano black, I guess. But yeah, this is something unique that I haven't actually seen before. We don't have any aircon vents back here, but we do have two seat back pockets, so at least we do have that. Powering the BYD Seagull is a single electric motor that produces 55 horsepower and 135 Newton meters of torque. This is paired with a 30 kWh BYD Blade battery, and it has a top speed of 130 kilometers per hour and can drive an estimated 300 kilometers on a single charge. Opening the charging door reveals Type 2 charging, both AC and DC, which means this will be compatible with most charging stations in the country. And now we're driving the BYD Seagull. So it's actually raining really hard right now on the outside. So it's time to evacuate into the confines of this vehicle. So anyway, I hope that you can hear me clearly because it is really raining cats and dogs outside. So it might be a bit loud. So anyway, right off the bat, the BYD Seagull does feel like your typical electric vehicle. So obviously it's very quiet in terms of engine or the lack thereof because we only have an electric motor. So this is powered by an electric motor paired with a Blade battery, BYD's Blade battery, which is 30 kWh in size and produces 75 horsepower and 135 Newton meters of torque combined. So yeah, it's not the most powerful, but if you compare it with its segment, this the small hatchback segment, this is pretty good in terms of that. It will be the segment leader in terms of the torque figure, which is what's important with these EVs. So even with the rain, let's try to get a little bit more power out of this. Let's see, we're on eco mode right now, by the way. So putting it down, yeah, it's still typical EV with the instantaneous torque and pretty quick when it comes to acceleration. Probably not as quick as other EV models in the market, but definitely this is quicker than what you have in the segment or in the size category of this car. And by the way, we're limited to this area where we're currently test driving Evo City in Kawit, Cavite, so we won't really be able to give you much information on how this drives, but so far this is proving itself pretty well. So I can't tell you about NVH installation that well because it is raining again, but right now we can hear the rain is pretty loud because again it is pretty heavy right now, but all is good. Road noise, I am hearing a little bit at this speed. This is what you would expect from a small car anyway. As for steering feel, what you will notice is that it is very, very light. So now we're making a turn and it is very, very light really. So there is a decent amount of feedback despite it being super light. So I'll give it a pass with that. I do wish that we would have the steering modes like what we have in some other BYDs like the Sea Lion 6, but this one doesn't have that unfortunately. But still, at least it does provide us a very decent amount of feedback like what I am feeling right now. You really should test it out yourself. And that light steering also translates to a very good driving experience when inside the city. So this car is obviously designed for the city. It's a very small car, and that's exactly what the steering feedback gives us. A very good car to drive inside the city when you're stuck in traffic, in tight streets. It will be very easy thanks to that very light steering. And thankfully, again, it does give us a decent amount of feedback. As for ride quality, what I am seeing right now or feeling right now is that it is pretty typical again for a small car. So it's a bit firm, but it's not so firm. It feels very well dampened still, despite this being a smaller car. And based on my experience with other small cars, those are usually very firm despite them being designed for having smooth, comfy rides inside the city. And this one is no different, but again, it is slightly better. For visibility, that's something that this car, well, pretty much any small car as well, does pretty well. Do have very big windows and a very wide windshield, both front and back. So let's just go back to how the steering on this car feels. So again, I really like it despite it being light. I'm usually not a fan of very light steering, but this one does not disappoint me at all. So we're making a U-turn and it makes it very easy really. So at least we don't have anything to complain about that. It's really what we expect from this kind of car, and BYD is not disappointing us in that regard. What I would like to know though is how this drives when you are on the highway. So for sure it will feel very different from what we're experiencing right now. We'll give you that once we get this out for a longer and proper test drive when it stays with us for a longer time. As for other features that we do have, we don't get stuff like adaptive cruise control, those stuff. Again, this is a very affordable car, very small car. We don't usually get those in this segment, but we still do have regular cruise control over here. So at least we do have it for those times that you will be taking this out on the highway. And by the way, the range of this car is 300 kilometers. So that's very decent. Maybe you can go from Metro Manila to Clark and Pampanga and back in just one charge. Something I do find very quirky is the sound of its turn signal. So I don't know if you're gonna hear it, but there it is. So it does sound very cute. I don't know if you can hear it right now. I'm trying to move forward so that you can try to hear it. But yeah, if not, I'll just add another clip here. So anyway, it is very cute. It sounds very cute. It's very unique. It comes out of the speakers, by the way. So yeah, and I just like to add that the 4-speaker audio system, which I mentioned earlier, also sounds so good. Surprisingly, usually those systems don't sound really good, but in this car it is pretty good. All the speakers are here in front, but it doesn't feel that way. So I guess that's it for our first look and first impressions at the BYD Seagull. For now, I'll be sure to give you our full impressions, our full review once you're able to borrow this for a longer time and able to take it out on a longer test drive. So until then, I'll see you